Welcome to Innovator's Journey. I'm Jack, and today we're diving into one of the most fascinating stories in the history of innovation. Imagine arriving in a new country with just 4 cents in your pocket, but your mind filled with revolutionary ideas that would change the world. With us today is Dr. Johns, a renowned expert in electrical engineering history. Johns, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Jack. I'm excited to share the remarkable story of Nikola Tesla's early years.
Let's start at the beginning. Tesla was born in 1856 in what was then the Austrian Empire. Johns, what made his early years so special?
Well, Jack, Tesla showed extraordinary intellectual abilities from a very young age. Born in the village of Smiljan, in modern-day Croatia, he displayed an uncanny ability to visualize complex mechanisms in his mind. This exceptional trait would later become his greatest gift in engineering.
That's fascinating. I understand his fascination with electricity started quite early.
Indeed. From childhood, Tesla was captivated by electrical phenomena. A pivotal moment came when he first saw a demonstration of electricity during his school years. But what's truly remarkable is how this early fascination evolved into a deep understanding of electrical principles.
You know, it's interesting how these early experiences shape great innovators. What was his formal education like?
Tesla attended the Technical University of Graz, and this is where things get really interesting. While he was a brilliant student, he actually had quite a complex relationship with formal education.
Complex relationship with formal education. That sounds intriguing. What happened at the university?
Tesla was incredibly dedicated to his studies, often working from 3 a.m. until 11 p.m. He actually earned the highest grades possible and passed twice as many exams as required. But here's where it gets interesting. He became so obsessed with proving that alternating current was possible that it began to consume him entirely.
That's quite intense. How did this obsession affect his studies?
Well, it actually led to him withdrawing from the Polytechnic school in his third year. He became completely absorbed in his pursuit of the AC motor concept, often arguing with his professors who insisted that a motor without commutators was impossible.
So even early on he was challenging established thinking, but surely leaving university was a huge risk?
Absolutely. But you know, Jack, this is where Tesla's story becomes a perfect example of how formal education isn't always the only path to innovation. In 1881, he took a position at the Continental Edison Company in Paris, where he gained practical experience that proved invaluable.
That's fascinating, from challenging academic theories to working for Edison's company in Europe. What was that experience like for him?
It was transformative. While there, Tesla demonstrated his exceptional problem-solving abilities, particularly in troubleshooting electrical installations. But more importantly, it was during this period, in 1882, that he had his breakthrough insight about alternating current.
Can you tell us about that moment? It seems like a crucial turning point.
Picture this: Tesla was walking in a park in Budapest when the solution suddenly came to him. He actually drew a diagram of his AC motor in the sand with a stick. It was one of those rare eureka moments where theory, imagination, and possibility all aligned perfectly.
That's incredible, literally drawing the future in the sand. But I have to ask, with such a promising position in Europe, what compelled him to make that bold move to America?
You know, Jack, it was actually a letter of recommendation to Thomas Edison himself that sparked this journey. Charles Batchelor, who was Edison's colleague in Paris, was so impressed with Tesla that he wrote to Edison, saying, "I know two great men, you are one of them, the other is this young man."
Wow, that's quite an endorsement. But I understand his arrival in America wasn't exactly glamorous?
Far from it. When Tesla arrived in New York in 1884, he had only 4 cents in his pocket, a book of poetry, and a letter of recommendation. He'd actually been robbed on the ship during his journey, losing most of his belongings.
Only 4 cents. That must have been terrifying. How did he manage?
This is where Tesla's resilience really shines through. Despite these hardships, he remained focused on his vision. He actually walked into Edison's office on his first day in America wearing what was left of his good suit, still carrying that letter of recommendation.
It's amazing to think how that moment would shape the future of electricity. Looking back at his journey from Croatia to that point, what do you think drove him?
I believe it was a powerful combination of factors. His early education had given him a strong theoretical foundation, but it was his unwavering belief in his AC system that truly drove him. He knew, deep down, that his ideas could revolutionize how we use electricity.
You know, Johns, this reminds me of something we often see in great innovators, this balance between formal education and practical experience. How do you think Tesla's unique educational path influenced his later innovations?
That's an excellent observation, Jack. Tesla's journey shows us that innovation often requires both strong theoretical knowledge and practical experience. His time at the Technical University of Graz gave him the fundamental principles, while his work at Continental Edison taught him real-world application.
And I imagine this combination became crucial when he started working with Edison in America.
Absolutely. Though interestingly, this is where Tesla's European education and American practical experience would eventually clash. His theoretical understanding of AC power was far ahead of its time, while Edison was firmly committed to DC power. This set the stage for one of the most fascinating technological rivalries in history.
That's a perfect segue into what would become known as the War of Currents. But before we get there, I'm curious about something. How did Tesla's early experiences in Croatia and Europe shape his approach to this upcoming battle?
That's a fascinating question, Jack. You see, Tesla's upbringing in Croatia, particularly his father being an Orthodox priest and his mother an inventor of household appliances, gave him a unique perspective. He developed both a strong work ethic and an innovative mindset from an early age.
Wait, his mother was an inventor? I don't think many people know about that.
Indeed. His mother, UKA, created numerous household tools and mechanical appliances. She had this incredible ability to weave and construct tools without any formal education. Tesla often said he inherited his inventive nature from her.
That's incredible. So innovation ran in the family. How did this background prepare him for the challenges he'd face in America?
Well, growing up in a multicultural environment of the Austrian Empire, Tesla learned to navigate different cultures and perspectives. This adaptability proved crucial when he came to America. But more importantly, his European education taught him to think theoretically and systematically, which was quite different from Edison's practical, trial-and-error approach.
That's an interesting contrast. How did these different approaches play out when they worked together?
Tesla's first assignment from Edison was to redesign his DC generators. Using his theoretical knowledge, Tesla quickly identified and solved numerous problems. He later claimed to have worked 18 to 20 hours a day on these improvements.
Those work hours sound familiar, very similar to his university days.
Exactly. This intense work ethic was a constant throughout his life. But there was a crucial difference between his university work and his time with Edison. At university, he was free to pursue his AC ideas. With Edison, he had to conform to Edison's commitment to DC power, despite knowing there was a better way.
That must have been frustrating for someone who had such a clear vision of what was possible with AC power.
Absolutely. Remember that moment in Budapest when he drew his AC motor design in the sand? By this point, he'd spent years refining that concept. He tried to explain the advantages of AC to Edison, but Edison famously dismissed it, saying, "Alternating current is a waste of time. Nobody will use it, ever."
Talk about a historical misjudgment. But in a way, didn't this rejection ultimately lead to Tesla striking out on his own?
That's exactly right. And this is where Tesla's early experiences really came into play. His confidence in his ideas, built during those long hours of study and experimentation in Europe, gave him the courage to leave Edison and pursue his AC vision independently.